In the 21st century, a throwaway society has sadly reigned supreme. Over the last few years, though, there's been a definite shift towards sustainability and definitely that make, do and mend era. But what can we do at home to make sure we look after our stuff?
You're listening to the Declutter Hub podcast, bringing you tried and tested, no-nonsense tips and advice from the leading experts in decluttering and organising your home. Now here are your hosts, Ingrid Jansen and Leslie Spellman.
Hello and welcome, listeners. I'm Ingrid.
And I'm Leslie.
If you're a brand new listener, thanks for being here. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our weekly podcast. And if you've been hanging out with us for ages, thank you so much. We appreciate you listening to us every week. So in this episode, Leslie and I are going to be chatting how you can take care of your stuff, because we've got so much stuff. And we need to take care of it so we don't have to replace our items all the time. And we save ourselves a nice bit of dosh as well. Right, Leslie?
Yeah, definitely. And it's quite interesting, actually, because you and I prepared for this podcast a minute ago. Then I went upstairs because Ingrid said you need to put some lipstick on. So I was like, right, okay. Because I was obviously looking a little bit bedraggled. So I went upstairs, put some lipstick on. Look, I have my lipstick, Ingrid. And just as I was walking downstairs, I felt this weird kind of like movement in my foot. And this is what's happened to my shoe.
Oh my gosh.
So how apt that we are doing a podcast on how to take care of your stuff, and my sandal that I've had, to be fair, for quite a few years, it's just broken. Clearly, I did not take care of my stuff.
Well, stuff breaks, Leslie. That's the thing. Stuff just doesn't last as long as it did in the olden days. But by taking care of it, we can make stuff last longer. And maybe you can now have a look if you can actually fix your shoe. If you can't, it is just a shame. But maybe
there's no fixing. There's no fixing. There's no fixing. That.
Oh no,
Definitely.
Oh no. Definitely. No. Okay. No, never. Nice try, Ingrid. Not gonna happen. So yeah, stuff breaks. That's part of life. But there is lots of stuff we can repair and we can fix, or we can have mended, which is a fraction of the cost of what it would be to buy new.
I mean, I always think if you want to fix something, there's two go-to places, aren't there? One is Google or another search engine, and the other one is YouTube, which is absolutely fantastic for those how to fix things, how to sort things, how to clean things, how to mend things and all those kind of things. YouTube is definitely your friend, because some kind people decide to put videos on telling us how to do pretty much everything, from changing the filter on your washing machine to cleaning shoes to fixing random things on ovens and things like that. And so if in doubt, stick it in Google search and potentially either something will come up on Google or something will come up on YouTube, won't it?
Yeah, because I think the thing is, don't just start fiddling yourself with it. You kind of need to have the right information to get this job done. Or you maybe want to reach for the manual if it's an appliance that is. Don't just kind of start pressing random buttons on things, because you will just confuse the machine. But have a look at the manual. They almost always have in the back kind of a what happens if this happens, or what, there's a kind of problem solving part in a manual at the end where you can kind of see, okay, is there anything in here that connects with my problem on my machine, and what do I need to do to fix it, before having an expensive repair person out to fix something for you.
Do you know, I'm gonna be honest with you though, Ingrid, and I know what you're saying about manuals. I think that the information that you can get on YouTube is often better and explains things much more than in a manual, because in a manual it's normally written. I mean, sometimes the manufacturers now are kind of switching onto it a little bit more, and they're doing their own videos and things, aren't they? But in general, I find the YouTube stuff easier to work through than the manuals. And of course, what we're talking about is not necessarily just fixing things, but we're talking about taking care of things in advance of them breaking. So my shoe has broken, and so I clearly did not take care very well. But as Ingrid said, I have had them for a few years, and so it was just that shoe's time. It was the shoe telling me it was time to get recycled. But yeah, so let's talk about some of the things in life that we need to look after so that they don't break and we don't get to that expensive repair.
Well, I think, of course, Leslie, there's a long list of things that we can do so we can make items last longer. For example, if you have a lot of expensive, nice leather shoes, you can polish them so they look nicer and they last longer. You can have them re-heeled at the menders. So if it's only the heel that's broken or that needs a little replacing, you can walk around with them for another 2 years. So it's not always, it always have to be massive, expensive repairs. It can be small things as well. It can be if your coffee machine says change the filter, actually change the filter or descale the machine to descale it. All of these kind of, but you know, the annoying thing is these little jobs, especially if you don't do them very often, they take a bit of time. But on the other hand, you do save yourself a lot of time later if you ignore changing the filters and descaling your machine, then the problems get bigger.
I mean, if I'm honest, the biggest thing that I come across that is a problem that could have been avoided is vacuum cleaners. And so definitely people just go and go and go and go and never ever look at filters, or if they've got the brushes underneath and never sort them out, and then wonder why they're not picking up so well. So quite often, if I'm working in a house, one of the first things we're doing if we're getting to that stage of cleaning is we'll be like, well, let's change your vacuum filter. And often it's the first time that anybody has ever done that in their life. And they're like, oh, I didn't even know you'd done that. I've never done that, you know. And so it's no wonder that it's not working at its optimum level. So if there's anything that you want to do based on this podcast, go look at your vacuum cleaner or your Hoover, as we like to call them in the UK, and take a moment to change those filters and to look and to make sure that they're working. Because honestly, if you change the filters on a vacuum cleaner, it is incredible the difference that is going to make, isn't it, Ingrid?
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And I actually have a box with filters. So I replace them because I live on a main road in quite an old house. So all that fine dust is like all the time here. So I actually have a box with filters. We don't even order one by one. We have a box of them. So they're easily replaced, but you can definitely notice the difference. If, for example, you have got a cooker hood above your cooker or your hob or your stove, however you want to call it, change those filters in there. Or if you've got a newer system, you can normally take the kind of iron things, the filters out and put them in the dishwasher. So that's also a good way to make sure that smells in your kitchen stay down. So that's also one of those jobs, very random, but very good to do.
They're just the kind of thing that we don't really get around to. And we're going to talk later on, aren't we, about how to make sure these things get done. I think another thing that gets neglected, actually, Ingrid, is things in the bedroom. So I think mattresses, pillows, duvets, those kind of things definitely get neglected. And we don't really look after them in the way that we should. And so I think turning mattresses, now not every mattress needs to be turned. So some are non-turn. Some of them you turn 180 degrees, some of them you turn over. And so it very much depends on how your mattress has been constructed as to whether it's a no-turn mattress. But quite often, people don't know whether they are a no-turn mattress or not. And so, but if they are a turn mattress, then it's definitely designed that every now and again, like I think it's like every 3 months or something, isn't it? That you should turn those mattresses around. It'll differ from mattress to mattress. But take a look at that. And next time you're changing your bed over, have a look at the mattress and say, right, you know, now's the time to turn it. Because again, it does make a difference to the way you sleep, which is super important to have a good night's sleep. I think connected to that as well is your pillows and duvets as well. Make sure that if they're washable, they do go through the washing machine every now and again. And so that they smell nice. You know, there's a lot of kind of, I don't know, gunky, horrible stuff that comes off our skin and sweat and everything at night, isn't there? And so these things need to be washed at a high temperature to get rid of those kinds of things, don't they?
Yeah.
So that's something else that often gets neglected. if we look after those pillows, if they are washable pillows, what that then means is we don't get to a stage where they're so grim and grimy and horrible that we just want to throw them away and get a new one. So that's what we're trying to avoid, really.
Yeah, I think another thing that will help there, Leslie, is having pillow protectors and mattress protectors. So you kind of protect that. You can just wash, and you can wash the protectors a little bit more often. So you keep the mattress and the pillow themselves in a better condition in the first place. So it's all those tiny little things that a lot of people just don't think about, but we can do. Same, going back to the kitchen, a bit of salt in the dishwasher. If you live in a very hard water area, a bit of extra salt can really help. If you have a specialist wooden floor in your living room or anywhere around your house, maybe just a weekly mop is fine, but maybe once or twice a year, you need to treat that floor, or maybe a wooden table or whatever it is, with some specialty cleaning products. Or if you've got a special stone floor somewhere in your house. Oh, the job of getting that job done once a year or so with that specialty little bottle they gave you when you bought the floor. You're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. It's one of those jobs you just don't want to do. But if your stuff is looking nice, you want to take care of it, and it lasts so much longer.
Yeah, it's kind of quite, a lot of these things are quite sort of old school, aren't they? You know, when you watch films and programs from like the 40s then, 40s and 50s, people did a lot of stuff manually then. And we were so lucky that we've got all these gadgets and gizmos to help us. But, you know, you remember, don't you, people beating curtains, you know, to get the dust out of the curtains and stuff like that. And, you know, it's just things like that, isn't it? And mopping steps outside houses and things like that. So there's loads of things that we'll look at. I mean, you can, of course, if you've got the right attachment, things like curtains to get the dust off them, because the dust settles on a curtain in the same way as it does any other flat surface. You know, you need to make sure that dust goes so that you keep the curtains or drapes or whatever you want to call them at their looking their best, really, and so that dust is not hanging around, you know, in your house.
Yeah. I know. I've got a let me call the curtain whacker. I'm old school. You know, I'm old school, Leslie, with things like this. I've got a curtain whacker in my house. So once a year, normally over the kind of summer months, at one point, suddenly I just climb up ladders and take all my curtains down, and everybody's like, "What is she doing now?" And I'm like, and it's like, "Oh, the curtain whacker is coming out."
It's something that we neglect. You can't really see it often, depending on the curtain. It's really hard to see that dust. But as soon as you do give it a go, it's huge. I mean, I've got pelmets over the top of my curtains, and the top of the pelmets are really full because it's a flat horizontal surface rather than, you know, the dust does stick to the vertical surface as well, but the horizontal surfaces are really quite full of dust, but they're very high up, and so they're quite hard to get to. So it is only something that you're going to be doing every now and again, really. So lots and lots of things that we need to do to keep on top of things. Cleaning is a biggie, isn't it? And so little and often is gonna, you know, we've talked about things that you need to do on an occasional basis as well, but if you can keep on top of, you know, wiping your doors down, wiping your architraves down, cleaning your windows, then what happens is it doesn't become this colossal job that takes like forever, because you're doing it on a regular basis, and so it never gets really bad. So that's the key, but it's not always possible, is it? And we need to do that kind of spring clean. Now, typically people don't actually do spring cleaning anymore, but people do regular cleans anyway at a certain time of the year. Sorry. So do keep on top of your cleaning. That's going to really help, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because actually, I love a bit of cleaning. I think most listeners do know that. So at one point it was like, Ingrid, how do I do this in my house? And how do I do that? And we actually have created lots of videos about maintenance of equipment and machinery. And indeed, the Hoover is one of them, a shredder, a microwave, how do you clean your kettle, all of those things, how to do your fridge, your freezer. And we've now created a whole course with all of these little videos because a lot of our members were like, this is fantastic. I had never realized that how often I need to do this, and why do I need to do this, and why it's important, or what do I need to think about. And I love doing my little videos, don't I, Leslie?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You know, we put every week, you know, it's now a full course, isn't it? But we put what we call quick wins out, don't we? So, you know, not everybody has got time to do a big decluttering project every week. So we have challenge of the week, we have quick wins, and those maintenance things, maintaining your kettle, sorting your fridge out, all the things that you've mentioned are all in there. And people love them because, as we have said, a lot of people it's like a revelation that these things have to be done, because you just buy things because we talked about that throwaway society feeling that we kind of had. It's so cheap now generally to replace these things, and we don't believe that things should have like a really long lifespan. We're like, oh, we've done okay, we've had 5 years out of it, it's fine. But just by doing a little simple bit of maintenance, you can really prolong the life and absolutely save yourself some money.
Yeah. Yeah. Hi, just a little break from this podcast episode to ask whether you have heard about our membership. Using our tried and tested Reset Your Home system, we will guide you thought by thought, room by room, and day by day through your decluttering journey. It's a game changer. What are you waiting for? We have both monthly and annual options, and all the details you need are at members.declutterhub.com.
So welcome back. We wanted to also talk about laundry and clothes, didn't we, Ingrid? Because it's super important to keep on top of your laundry. What we find quite often when we're working in clients' homes is that there may be a wardrobe. So just in case you're not familiar with that term, it means when your clothes are not in your wardrobe, they're in your wardrobe or on your wardrobe. And so we can all imagine what that looks like. And that means that things are kind of not being looked after, they're not being hung, they're not being kept, they're being trampled on, maybe, that kind of thing. Quite often as well, we see laundry baskets that never become completely emptied. And so the laundry baskets, they've always got this kind of dampness, haven't they? It's kind of interesting. They just never get into the bottom of the laundry basket. So we have a full laundry course also in the membership where we talk about how to do that, and emptying the laundry basket every single week is definitely one of the things that we recommend. And so make sure those baskets are getting emptied. The same goes for ironing baskets as well. I know a lot of people around the world don't have to iron or don't iron or choose not to iron. But if you do have an ironing basket, make sure every now and again, or every week if possible, which is what I do, then get to the bottom of the ironing basket so that those clothes are not laying and kind of, I don't know, getting musty and fusty and damaged and things. And so it's really important to have a good laundry routine, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's very important what you say. If a lot of clothes live on the floor, if you're just getting out of the shower and you drop something on the floor and you pick it up 5 or 10 minutes later, not a problem. But if clothes gets left kind of strewn. I'm tripping off my own words, Leslie. Strewn over the floor. Then
Say again.
Strewn.
Just putting you through it another time.
Yeah, just because you can. Just like because you can.
No, it is quite a tongue twister. There you go. Strewn and tongue twister. So we're getting diverted now away from the topic in hand, Ingrid, aren't we?
Yeah. So no, but if clothes get on top of each other on the floor, and then something else gets on top of it and something else, and then you kind of think, oh, let me quickly open the window, let me just step carefully, and then there's a pile of things, and then you're gonna have to step over it, and things really get damaged. Zippers can get stuck behind something, a button can break or get stuck into something else and then create a hole, and then you get all these repair jobs, or you're just giving work for yourself. And the thing is, once you get on top of these things a little bit more, in the beginning, it's a lot of work, but later you get that payoff of time. It's the same with decluttering. In the beginning, the decluttering is like, oh, I have so much to do. But once you kind of get over that hump and you kind of start to break the back of it a little bit, it's like, wow, this is actually amazing. I can actually find things, I can put things away, and now I can do my daily resets. And that's the thing we wanted to talk about next, isn't it, Leslie?
Yeah, so we love our Reset Your Home system, don't we? And so we firmly believe in daily and weekly, in fact, and seasonal, in fact, but first daily, then weekly, then seasonal resets. And that's super important to keep on top of putting things away and having things in the right place. If you don't do those daily resets, what then happens is we get in a panic one day when someone's coming to visit and they're like, yeah, I'm just popping in for a coffee in 10 minutes. You're like, no, I'm not ready. What am I going to do? And so what we then do is what we call the sweep, which is we gather loads of stuff together, chuck it in a box, chuck it in a bag, chuck it in a cupboard, and then we forget about it. And so what happens is that again, we're not looking after our stuff because we're bundling it all together in inappropriate storage, which is all together in a bag, all together in a drawer, all together in a cupboard or something like that. And so we really need to, by doing these daily resets, and sometimes depending on the makeup of your house, that reset might be more than once a day, just to depress you even more. But basically what that means is you just tidy up and put things back where they belong. It's nothing more complicated than that, but we just need to do it regularly, because what that means is the stuff doesn't build to a point where we are in a panic and we have to throw everything into a box, as we said, by doing a sweep. So that's super important to do those daily resets. Conversely means that we are then going to look after our stuff better. It's going to make it easier for decluttering and organization. We're then not going to have to buy things, because when we do a sweep, quite often we forget what we've got. So we then go out and buy double. And so there's loads of benefits to doing these daily resets, isn't there, Ingrid? But one of the main thing is that our stuff doesn't get damaged, because when we get back to one of those carrier bags boxes where everything's been stuffed in, you can bet your bottom dollar that there will be things that are broken or damaged, won't there, Ingrid?
Yeah, always. Always. And sometimes it's something really inexpensive that doesn't matter so much. And other times it is something that is really either meaningful or sentimental, or especially when it goes to either photographs or important ornaments or things like that. And if they then are broken because they've been flung in a bag somewhere, in a box somewhere, and then that can really hurt. That can really hurt. And then I think that it almost hits home like, wow, I need to take better care of my stuff and not do these sweeps, because if it's something cheap, normally people are not so worried about it. But I think the more you tidy up and declutter and do your resets, the better you take care. And it's actually, this reminds me of somebody who put something on a Facebook group a while back, like, the more I declutter, the more I clean. And the more I clean, the more I keep cleaning. Because you start to see stuff that you haven't. It's almost like when you have clutter in your house, it just builds up so gradually over time. You don't see it. It's the same thing with cleaning. In the beginning, when you're cleaning, it's like, oh yeah, it is a bit dusty here. But when you then start to dust and tidy up and declutter, it's like, oh my word, have you seen the dust here on my curtains? Have you seen the dust behind the radiators? Because you start to look at your house with a completely new set of eyes almost. And the more you peel away of that clutter, the more it becomes obvious that probably there hasn't been done a lot of deep cleaning, because it's just too difficult to reach all those nooks and crannies and corners. And the more you start to do that deep cleaning, the more stuff you see that has been neglected. So it almost goes hand in hand, doesn't it? The decluttering, the organizing, and the cleaning, and then also taking better care of your stuff. It all fits together.
It does all fit together. And the bottom line is, it's not easy. To do all this is not easy. And you need to have in your schedule every week a way that this is all going to get done. We need to write notes. We need to put actions together. We need to, if we haven't got time to clean our shoes and we think, oh, they need to clean, but I'll do that later. It needs to get recorded somewhere so we can come back to it and make sure that is done at some point when we're doing some kind of what we call life admin. So there's a combination of things really that we wanted to talk about in this podcast. Doing those daily resets is going to absolutely make sure that things don't get damaged, and pulling lists together while you're decluttering, while you're doing those resets, while you're organizing. You can put things on those on your list, and then that can become part of your life admin tasks. As that makes sure that these tasks that we spoke about at the beginning of the podcast, maintenance tasks, cleaning shoes, changing filters, don't do them all in one weekend, because you're going to lose the will to live. We need to do them gradually. Ingrid would probably do them all in one weekend, but nobody else would. Let's face it. And so yeah, so it's really important to have that recorded somewhere, and that is what we call life admin. We have got a podcast on life admin as well, Ingrid, the kind of things that we consider that to be, and we will write in the show notes what that was. That was one that I recorded with my right-hand clutter fairy, Katie. And so, yeah, so we talked about life admin in that, and that forms a big part also of our routines course in our membership. So, yeah, so taking care of your stuff. I'm going to not be able to take care of those shoes. They're going to have to go in the bin. I can't even donate them. And so But hey,
But I do not do all my life admin jobs in one weekend, Leslie. I am the queen of breaking things down. So
okay.
I do, I really like every weekend I think, oh yeah, let me just clean out the kettle, or oh, it's been ages since I've done the fridge, or oh, let me change the pillowcases or the pillow protectors and the mattress protectors, put them through the wash. I never do all these jobs in one. It is impossible to do. But every weekend I try to pick one little thing. And then over time, that really adds up. I think you can really kind of get the benefits of it because it just gets a lot less jobs. So I'm going to correct you on that one. But
Oh, I
yes.
thought you were Superwoman. I'm disappointed. No, I'm not really. No, you're absolutely right. When you're doing it, when you're deep diving on a room, whether that's a decluttering project, an organizing project, or a cleaning project, that's the perfect time to see little things that might need to be done and write them down, and so they get done. There's nothing more satisfying than ticking these kind of things off your list, is there?
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? I think it is really, just so lovely to do that. So satisfying. And I think when you see your house kind of improve like that, and you can really be proud of yourself. And it feels so nice to sit in a room that that you think, oh yeah, that's been done, and I feel comfortable. And you can, I think, relax a little bit more in your house when all these jobs are done, and you're not looking at clutter and lots of dust and dirt everywhere.
Yeah, and I know it was one of our members, wasn't it, who, because you did the quick win, didn't you, on cleaning your kettle out or descaling your kettle. And I think she had said in the membership that she had descaled her kettle, and then she'd have this amazing cup of tea. So I think there is something, there's other benefits, like when you've not got a fuzzed up kettle, that mean it's like, oh, actually things taste nicer and look nicer and work better and things like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, you're in your element, Ingrid, with this podcast today, aren't you?
Huh? Yeah, I do.
Right up your street.
Yeah, it is. I think because I find it very satisfying. And I loathe spending money. I'm one of those frugal Dutch people that just, if I can do some small job to make something last longer, so it takes longer for me to replace it, and I can spend my money on doing something fun, I'd rather do that. So I think it's a complete win-win. So I think on that positive note, I think we need to tell everybody what we're talking about next week.
So next week, our podcast is all about decluttering CDs and DVDs. I can't believe that we've done more than 150 podcasts and not talked about CDs and DVDs. Where have we been with it? Next week, we're going to talk about CDs and DVDs. So do tune in and listen to us next week.
Yes, we can't wait to see you then. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks so much for listening to the Declutter Hub podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us in your podcast player so you don't miss an episode, and we'll see you next week.